and start sharing my screen. Bobby, I'm going to hand it over to you for the introduction. So go ahead. We are recording now, and thank you again for joining today's Mentor Monday.
Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. So I want to welcome everybody on the call. Buenos dias. Good morning, everyone. We're happy to have you here. We're honored to have you here. And we want to congratulate all of you. Many of you have seen the numbers posted and the incomes that are happening in Power, the life-changing incomes that are happening amongst our mentors. And it warms our heart to see that. So we feel very blessed that everyone can share the wealth. So we are excited, and again, we're honored to have the leadership that we have in this company. The events that have been having in different marketplace, many of you are leading your own events and leading by example and leveling up training, which is really great to see. And the purpose of today is to really start to make clear, it's a new world, folks, you know, exactly where we were. There were a lot of things that we did as a company together with you. We did this together. Where we upgraded people to mentor status that maybe weren't quite ready. We needed more mentors speaking Spanish. We needed more mentors speaking English. So we made some adjustments and we moved some people up quickly. And we all did that together. But really what it's about now is where we're going. I mean, look, everybody, this is game time. You know, this is what we've been waiting for. Everything is in place right now. There's over 15 reps a day, solar and sales professionals, 7 days a week, every single day, joining our company right now. We now have some of the top lead generation professionals joining our company. Some of you have been spearheading that efforts, and we're working on different verticals right now. So, and right now behind the scenes, we've spent about $100,000 to begin the process, the Regulation A round, excuse me, where we go to raise another hopefully $10 million is in play. So again, this is as big as most of us have ever or perhaps will ever play in their lives. So we're hiring, we're staffing up. Beth is hiring in customer support. Rachel is hiring. All of our divisions are hiring right now. Construction manager and perhaps even more positions to be filled. So, and what we need to do right now, what we've been working on behind the scenes, what Jonathan is laser focused on is enhancing and tracking our metrics, all of us together. Rachel's going to outline to you very soon a change in the submission process for mentors, which will help all of you. But these mentor trainings, you know, we often wonder about who's not on here and why they're not. Obviously, if they have a job and they can't be on here, we get it. That's why we record that. We appreciate the Spanish-speaking leadership that have taken these trainings and bringing them to the Mentor Spanish Zoom trainings, for which is imperative. Because if not, so many hundreds of people and thousands of people that are joining our company will not be able to receive the biggest updates from Rachel and Justin and our team. So we thank you for delivering those messages, I believe, tonight to your Mentor Monday. And there really is just no way to be effective without them. What we're locked and loaded on, where we're going, is conversion rates and cancellation rates. And together, and Charles will speak to this a little bit practically from the field as well. What we're asking you today is to begin to become conscious about your conversion rates. What are you doing to have the highest conversion rates? And again, this will get better with the upgrades we're about to talk to you. What are we doing to prevent cancellations? How well are we training our teams to stay in contact with their customers? And the reason we must do this, look, you all are a part of this. We're going to be a public company. In order for us to properly forecast our projections, which is what's required by Wall Street, which is required by investors, what's required by our installation partners, what's required by the companies that are stepping up to be partners in all the things that we're doing, it is now required that we have to measure the conversion rates of our sales, the cancellation rates of our installations, and to work together to get better. This is not a punishment. This is you, our leaders in the field, and us collectively raising our game. This is you as a stockholder helping us to get better, and we can, again, just create a better future for all of us. So It's in everyone's best interest to track the only things that really matter. It doesn't matter how many people we recruit in this company every day. It doesn't matter how many teams are building it. Obviously, that's important on the front end. What's important is our conversion of sales, our reduction of cancellations, the customer experience that they are having, the referrals that we are getting. And we'll also talk today as a reminder, as we grow, we have to become more efficient. Emails to me in the middle of the night about a contract that you're not seeing doesn't work. Text blast to Charles about a contract or a customer, that doesn't work. The channels that Rachel outlines on these Zooms every single week about where things go, pre-sales, post-sales, where the proper questions go, customer support. If it's escalated and you feel like you're not getting the answer that you need to get, then please shoot me an email, but a detailed email. I need the name of that customer. I need what exactly you are looking for. Copy your team on it, your upline, your team mentors, and let's get to the bottom of everything. So again, everybody's doing an amazing job. The vast majority of all of our mentors are killing it. We're so happy about the way things are going, but now we're in a new world and it's time to raise the game. It's time to raise the bar. We're going to revert to the mentor guidelines that were set out in the beginning, which Rachel will cover with you. And we're going to start to look into where we need to get better as a company. In other words, if a mentor is underperforming, if they're not closing anything, if their contracts are falling apart, if their customers are unhappy, then all of us together have to look at a process where that person is temporarily suspended as a mentor and what would get them re-engaged as a mentor. So mentor is a privilege and it's a right and it's gained, but we have to do a better job, you and us collectively, to make sure that we've got the best people out there doing the best work we can. So again, thank you for being here today. Let me turn it over to Rachel. I think Charles will be speaking a little bit. I'll come back at the end. We'll chat for a moment, but in the words of Marvin Gaye, let's get it on.
All right. Thank you so much, Bobby. And again, Bobby and Charles and Justin are on here. They're also looking over on the chat window. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead because we've got a lot of content to cover. And that was a great introduction to everything that we're doing right now. So right now, you guys, over the course of the next 4 Mentor Mondays, we're hoping to get a commitment for you guys to start coming to our Mentor Mondays, because we want to make sure we're doing a comprehensive program for you guys that covers everything from what the mentor expectations are. We've developed this into multiple modules and we're breaking them up over the next 4 Mentor Mondays to make sure that we are covering all of this experience and roles and responsibilities, as well as implementing a great sales experience for both you and the mentee moving forward. So over the course of the next 4 Mentor Mondays, you should be able to define what a mentor is and its function within the Power Platform. We're going to cover a lot of that today. Explain your specific roles and responsibilities as a mentor. When somebody asks you, what's it like to be a mentor, you should be able to clearly know like what that means. Describe and implement a great experience for new mentees coming into the platform. We'll do some small training on like setting SMART goals and helping to motivate your mentees to help direct them when they're putting in their leads and what their activities look like out there as they're generating leads that you're working on with them. Explain the critical elements of the agreements with accuracy. Again, a lot of this stuff is going to be just review for some of you guys, and a lot of it will be new, because if you're a new mentor or new to solar sales, but have been quickly moved up into the mentor ranks. And then explain the critical elements of the savings report proposal to customers and close more deals. So we will, from a corporate standpoint, talk about a consultation process, and we have developed a ton of slides here that Charles has put together that we'll be sharing with everybody. But this next few Mentor Mondays, again, we want to see as many of you guys can be on here so that we can get through all of this content. As I mentioned today, we want to talk about Module 1, which is the mentorship overview. We may get into the Module 2 and 3 and touch on the sales process, as well as in-home or Zoom presentations. In the future Mentor Mondays that we just described, we'll be covering Module 4, which is the proposal and savings report, how to do this well in the home with a guide to qualifying and closing your prospects, as well as covering very minute details like the point of sale process, how to use PV Watts in a competitive situation, becoming the trusted advisor. We'll go over the photo pack again and how that can help you in your markets. We'll also be talking about time management, using Calendly, how to make that work for you. We'll also be talking about the proposal review itself and conducting a sales consultation. And then there will be a final test, because one of the things that we are going to be rolling out is a mentor recertification that will be every couple months, just to make sure that our mentors are performing at the highest level. All right. So module 1, the mentorship overview. Everybody is familiar with the mentorship program and the brochure. I'm going to go ahead and open this up for you guys so that you can see my screen. Charles, can you see the screen here?
Sure can.
Awesome. All right, and I'm not even looking at the chat window, so if there are any questions on this, please save it till the end and we'll go through it, or put it in the chat window and we'll answer them towards the end of this. So again, this mentorship program was really developed a few months ago, and a lot of you guys are aware of this. We developed this only in the last, 6 to 8 months, in the sense that we have so many people that are coming into the platform, but they're not able to really get a grasp on how solar sales works. And some of them are lead generators, some of them have no intention of learning the solar sales process, but because so many mistakes were being made, they weren't following the process on the platform, and they just really needed some additional help on their projects. We developed the mentor program to put it in place to where there's a solar power pro, basically a power pro, something that's a professional on the power platform that knows how to move a project all the way through, from the lead all the way through to signing the contract. That we wanted to have them be able to replicate that by working with mentees and showing them the process, but in return, you guys would be doing the revenue split with them. It's a huge opportunity for those of you out there that are doing this, and you know from just closing deals left and right that you're seeing this on your paychecks as a huge opportunity for you to be working with new mentees. We're getting to the point where our mentee is the amount of mentees we have is starting to overshadow how many mentors we have to be working with these projects effectively. So we have to start looking at how we can not minimize the amount of leads coming in, but minimize the amount of proposals going out for stuff that's unqualified, which is where the mentors really need to be stepping in. We're also looking at what are the qualifications to be a mentor and to maintain mentorship. You know, so it's not just one thing that you can close deals all day, but you have to actually be following the process and keeping your own metrics in place. Because I mean, we've definitely done an audit on the system and have removed some mentors with the idea that they have a chance to re-earn it back. But we're going to be looking at the eligibility of maintaining that minimum one personal contract or one mentored contract per month. You know, it's really important to look at what these qualifications are, because if you're in Texas closing a deal in California, but you're not really an expert in California or licensed, then you shouldn't be closing that deal. You know, we should be moving that mentee to somebody that is more qualified. So it does take sometimes working with us in the pre-sales department to identify when you might have a project that you can't handle and we need to find a new mentor to work with it. Same thing when it comes to being fluent in the language that the customer speaks and so forth. So Charles, do you want to expand on this while we're on this subject?
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Actually, you know, I think beyond just what Rachel covered here, what the manual does is looking at the mentor position. It's a career pathway. And one thing that I wanted to chime in that I think is important, because sometimes as we're referring people to use a platform, you get a pushback, right? That says that, you know, why do I want to give up half my commission on my first contract? And it's just such a small thinking, quite frankly, of if you look at the whole picture of the mentorship program, it's truly a career pathway. So how can somebody go into a career pathway without having an understanding of what that career really is? So it's really important for us to paint that big picture, and why we're going to start spending a lot more time building foundations for mentors, because it's a six-figure career pathway. And with some of the other things that are coming up, we're going to be having the potential to get into lead generation programs that are only going to be available to mentors only. So if somebody hasn't earned that right, how can we then go out to the public and say, this is our core team of closers, if you will. This is our core team of leaders within the company if we're not following the same pathway for each and every person. So I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of shed some light on that, Rachel. So thank you.
Yep. Absolutely. And framing these conversations when you're sitting down with the mentors, making sure that they understand that you understand what their goal is as well. Because we do have mentees or people that are coming into the system that don't have any intention of wanting to learn the actual sales process. They just want somebody to work with that can close their deals. That's okay. That's valid, but we need to know when they're specifically saying like, hey, I just want to provide the lead and I just want to work with this person because I can see that their sales stats are showing that they're a closer. But then there's going to be those that you will have to spend some time actually exhibiting that coach and teacher mentality where the person really wants to see the process. So today we're going to go through some of the module 1, which is the mentorship overview. But I will pause at this point, Charles, to see if there's any pertinent questions at this stage.
See anything yet, Rachel?
All right. Keep it easy. So you guys all know how the mentor program works, how it's outlined in the commission statement. This is where the mentors work really becomes so important when it comes to pricing out those first few proposals and making sure that proper adders are happening, the equipment's nailed down before you sell it to the customer so that we don't have any surprises when it comes to the commissions or something didn't get calculated or you have to go back for a change order. This is where the mentor really and your experience in pricing your deals really comes in handy, and also you speaking to the customer and setting proper expectations. I know all you guys know how that works, but the mentor overview on this, you know, where's the value to the mentee? You know, obviously it's decreased the time spent learning and increase their sales. Learn and implement best practices in the Power Platform immediately because, again, you're going to take them on, you're working with them on the projects. Understand informal and formal business practices. We do have a lot of stuff that's happening formally within the company, like our trainings and our various onboarding Zooms, but then there's some informal stuff that happens, like for instance, in a given market, maybe it's not a formal business practice that customers have to do something, but it is an informal thing that you're talking to them about. Say, you know, if you want to really get help on a proposal, here's what I've found that really works for me. Contact pre-sales at their direct line, you know, and you're just kind of explaining to them some of the things that you as a mentor have figured out and learned over time doing the businesses here. And again, the other value to the mentee is that they have somebody that they can rely on for questions or issues if they're working on a specific project with you. The value to you, it's obviously enhancing your skills. You know, the more people you're getting in front of and doing the presentation to for customers, the better you're getting as a closer. Coaching and leadership, I mean, it really helps you develop yourself as a coaching and leadership person, especially if you're building teams out there. Obviously, you have the sales and the monetary opportunities that come with having a lead teed up for you, where you can come in and really just work with that customer to find them the best solution and work with your mentee ahead of time on pricing that out. So oh, sorry, this is going a little slow. I have on here the general onboarding, you know, setting up the mentee and you for success. So what we recommend is meet somewhere in person if you're with that person in person, or via Zoom. Just a dedicated time that you're going to do a quick one-on-one with them and go over their leads in the system and walk them through the platform. You know, the mentor should always be the one that's requesting the proposal. And very soon, we hope to turn off, like from a tech standpoint, we hope to turn off the mentee's ability to even request a proposal. So that way, it doesn't skew your guys' conversion rates if we're starting to look at proposals delivered versus just leads submitted and closed one. We're hoping that that will be in place here by the end of this week even. Charles or Bobby, do you want to speak to that real quick?
That's the target, to have it done by end of week so that each of us as mentors can control the quality and be monitored and measured appropriately.
Awesome. I did see something pop up in the chat window. I'm going to leave it to you guys to check that out.
Yeah.
So you also want to share your best practices with your mentor when you're meeting with them. I've had a few people reach out to me that they'd like me to mentor on a few deals, and my very first response to them is, hey, let's find a time to sit down and go over your leads. Do not request a proposal until I've had a chance to review it with you. So again, share your best practices when you're meeting with them. Give them feedback when you're starting to get into these appointments being queued up with your customers. At the end of each session, give them feedback or do a role play with them if they're conducting the sales consultation with you. You can give them a brief overview of how you conduct a sales consultation, but those first few projects should be conducted by the mentor, where you're presenting so that they can shadow you and see how your presentation goes, what you're touching on, what it looks like. Second project, again, conducted by the mentor. But the third one that you feel like will have a good chance to close, let the mentee conduct the presentation after they've seen and shadowed you, so that they can observe you and then you can give them feedback on that presentation, on how they went through it. If you're not comfortable with them presenting, then go ahead and do it, but still try to get some feedback from them or ask them how they would have approached a certain question or situation with the customer. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions that I need to address at this point.
Oh, we got them as you're going.
Awesome. So the module tool sales process, I mean, all of you guys are solar pros. You've been doing solar sales, hopefully, if not recently, but for a few years. Obviously, you want to qualify the home with your mentee, and you want to train the mentee. Again, when we can stop them from asking for proposals on unqualified things, you can show them the difference between a qualified home and a non-qualified home. Train your mentees or your lead generators that are putting stuff in the system to look for things before they put it in, like shade obstructions, orientation, roof type and condition, those kind of things that you should be going over and getting prepared for in case there's going to be a situation where the customer is going to need a new roof before they go solar, or they have a tree that's just not going to work in its current place, where it's currently at. You also want to verify that the utility bill that's been uploaded, check it for it to be a clean, crisp copy of the utility bill. If it's not, if it's just a picture of the usage with no information on who the utility is or their account number or whatever, you're going to need to get them to get a good copy of the utility bill, because we all know that while you can get a proposal going, you still need it by the time you close the deal to upload. Very rarely will you be able to complete a contract packet without a utility bill. And that's something that you just have to work with your mentees on developing how to get those properly. That goes for you guys too, though. Like, I see it happen a lot where people are just putting in, unlegible, you can't even read the utility bill. We're going to need a clean copy of that. Fill in all the data. Again, I would do this with a mentee. I wouldn't have them putting it in, because part of filling in the data is me training them on why or what we're looking for when we're talking about roof age, main service panel, getting the size of that main service panel as early as you can, again, so that you can price out your system properly. You want to make sure all the fields are filled in, including the HOA. If there is no HOA, put none. If there is one, try to find out the name of that HOA and their phone number. But all of that stuff is early on in the process. Then you want to set expectations for presenting to the customer. You want to talk to your mentees about when a good time is going to be, again, ahead of time when you have that proposal in hand, so that you can review it before you present it to the customer. But you want to set a solid time to present to the customer with you and your mentee. Obviously, the presentation, you're going to present this via Zoom or in person to the customer. You need to be involved in those presentations to make sure that the mentee is not saying something that they're not supposed to be saying. Documents needed at the time of sale. check and double check that you have all these documents needed. Some areas require photos of the driver's license. Some require homeowner declaration insurance to a certain size. So make sure you know and that you're the expert on those. And again, asking for referrals, training them and showing them how you weave this into your presentation. And at the same time, when you're closing the prospect, asking for referrals and having a game plan for referral requests. I need to pause for a second. My throat's going dry. Charles, is there anything in here?
No, good foundation building. And, one of the things you'll learn during this process while Rachel hydrates here is I always try to introduce what you can either call a solar discovery call, whether that's a Zoom or whether that's just a phone call. And we'll coach through on that so you can help your mentees learn how to get this data for you more effectively. So we'll circle back to that.
Again, you guys, we're not trying to go through all the modules today. We're already sitting at the halfway mark. So this is something that we will be covering over the next 3-4 sessions, So again, I'd like to stop for a second and ask a question. You guys should be able to raise your hand. Oh, didn't mean to jump back. Hold on, that was weird. Okay, raise your hand in the chat if you primarily do your mentored presentations to the customer via Zoom. If you can raise your hand as, yeah, we're gonna take a tally here because I'd really like to get some of this data since we have a decent amount of you guys on the call. Please raise your hand if you primarily do your mentored presentations via Zoom. I'm gonna pause for a second while that's going on. Okay. Justin, can you give me a tally of what we have so far showing in there? Because I'm only seeing 3 participants.
Yep, 3 is the number.
Okay, so most of you guys on here are doing your presentations in the home with the customer, it sounds like.
Some are saying they do.
Oh, no. I'm going to give you guys more time to answer this because now I'm seeing more people pop up.
And some might not know how to raise their hand. So if you can't figure that out, just type it in and we'll tally that as well.
Yeah, you can just put it. And if they say that they do both, then that tallies for it on Zoom. All right. We got Zoom. And the reason why I'm asking this question, you guys, is because there is a little bit of a difference when you're doing something in the home or in person. Obviously, in person, you're going to be able to develop more of a rapport with that customer. You're going to be able to identify kind of what they're into just by looking around their house, and you can be a little bit more involved in, especially when you're doing the photo pack, which is something we'll cover in a future module here. But yeah, thank you guys for answering that. So we have a lot of these happening in the in-home presentation, and that's really good information for us because again, when we go through these modules later, we're gonna wanna take it from like, here's how you do it as a Zoom presentation, and here's what you can do when you're in the home. All right, let me go back to this slide deck. So obviously with Zoom presentations, you want to set up your Zooms early and test your audio mic. It seems very basic, but people do forget to do that. I try to jump on these calls at least 10 minutes early just so I'm ready for you guys and our presentations. Make sure you don't have any distractions or background noise when you're on the Zoom. You want to look professional, obviously, at least from the waist up. Have your camera on, because on a Zoom presentation, one of the hardest things that you can do is actually be a real person to them, not just a voice over the air. So building that rapport and having your camera on so that they can see you, they can see what you look like, they can see how well presented you are, really goes a long way into developing that relationship with them. And again, speak clearly and show the savings report presentation slowly. Don't just whip through things so that the customer doesn't have a chance to digest that information that they're going over with you. in person, obviously, you want to be on time. This is pretty basic stuff. Dress professionally, be prepared, charge your laptop, have your iPad charged, have all your devices charged, and have a hotspot ready, because if your customer's Wi-Fi is not something that you're going to be able to jump on, and you need to show them something using the internet, you need to make sure that you are prepared for that and have your hotspot working. It can be really difficult if you don't have Wi-Fi internet. And honestly, for me, one of my first questions to the customer is, can I jump on your Wi-Fi? Because that's going to tell me sometimes how tech savvy they are, or if there's going to be a potential issue if they don't have email, or I'm not going to be able to close the deal because I can't get on the internet or they can't get on the internet. So sometimes I like to just ask my customer right there in the home, like, hey, can I go ahead and jump on your Wi-Fi so that I can get onto the sites that I need to show you your proposal. Obviously, speak clearly, show the savings report, present slowly, don't rush through it. In the home, I tend not to open my laptop for at least the first 15 to 20 minutes. The first portion of your in-person presentation should be just on building rapport and doing some discovery questions. It's really important not to rush to your laptop and showing the proposal, because you take away a lot of the areas where you can actually just be that person, because they're going to buy you at the end of the day. They're not going to buy necessarily your price. They're going to really get bought into you as a sales rep and what you're presenting. I'm going to pause here so that Charles or Justin can share any tactics on their end as well.
Yeah, I think the key there, and Justin, you chime in as well, and build a rapport. I tend to build rapport in first slide. So Rachel's, and we'll all have different approaches, obviously, but it's also important not to have it fake, right? People are so savvy nowadays that picking out a picture or things like that aren't necessarily the best way to do that. I tend to build my rapport around what their knowledge is of solar. Just asking an open question: is this your first time looking into solar? And if so, what's your experience been like? Or why did you wait so long? If they had already looked into solar, then what's your experience been like? And it just gets a natural flow rather than trying to build it off of something that is typically fake. My 2 cents.
Yep. Anybody here want to share anything in their experience when they're doing in-home presentations? You guys are able to unmute yourself.
They actually can't currently.
Oh, sorry. Never mind. Raise your hand and we'll unmute you.
TJ, coming your way. You're good, TJ.
Hey, just a quick question, and this is not, I wouldn't say it's an advanced question by any means, but I'm just trying to, I got presentations going on all over the place, and I'm just trying to harness down on when exactly is my cutoff for being able to close a deal. So for instance, I've gotten away from doing presentations on Sunday because nobody works on Sunday and I can't generate the docs, right? Also, I need to, like today, I have a presentation at 6 p.m., but I need to be able to get them qualified and request the loan docs so before 7 p.m. so that I'm able to request the contract docs before 7 a.m. Is that true? Is that making sense?
I'll jump in here, TJ.
Go ahead, Justin.
All of the hours of operation for everyone, because this is actually the 5th time this has shown up this morning.
Right.
So all the hours of operation, and this is something that every mentor should know off the back of in the back of your mind. You should definitely know our hours of operation, because if you don't, then you end up texting the sales support line on a Sunday evening and no one's going to respond to you because everyone is not working. So
obviously.
So the hours of operation are posted in powertraining.com, course number 7. It's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. This is all specific standard time. And then 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. So TJ, my advice to you is, if you are able to, I know that a lot of the time, sometimes it's not for door knockers, but if you're able to, what I would do is request the contracts or a proposal before 4 p.m. on Saturday, so that they're in your inbox. Because of course, you get the contracts first, so you're not in jeopardy of like the client seeing the contract before you even sit down with them, because of course you don't want that to happen. But you can request those contracts, they can sit in your inbox, And then when you hit finish, that's an automated process through DocSign, which can be done 24 hours a day. So that way you're able to do that. Also with qualifying for credit, that's also automated. So you can do that at 3 o'clock in the morning, any day of the week if you want to. So that's what I always suggest. So
Right.
especially if anybody is presenting on a Sunday, presenting on a Saturday evening, presenting after, you know, East Coast time for me, let's say it's after 10 p.m. on a weekday, then I would recommend requesting for that proposal before we close, or requesting those contracts before we close so you have them in hand.
Sure. The only thing with that is the order of operations. And like you said, it may not apply particularly to door knockers as you're trying to knock them out as you get them. But the only thing with that particular order of operations is I need to, in order to request that doc before I go over there, I have to qualify them first, right?
Well, I mean, we always recommend that you get the credit approved, but it's not a requirement. Like, it won't stop you from requesting docs. You can
Really?
request docs anytime that you want to. That's just a recommendation that we'd offer, because obviously if you don't have financial backing, then it doesn't matter if they're signing
have
an
to cancel
installation
it.
agreement. But it's totally okay if you're in a situation where you're presenting at 9 p.m. on a Sunday or on a Saturday, and you need to request contracts so you have them ready to go.
What will likely happen though, TJ, and we're gonna just finish this one up. What will likely happen though in those cases is you're probably gonna have to be prepared to do a second visit, to do the credit, to do a change order if necessary, if your pricing doesn't come out the way you think it's going to, or something gets added after the fact.
Okay. The only thing I was just going to say was I could have swore that I couldn't request the contract unless the financing part was done first. Like it's I thought
it's just highly, highly frowned on, because if they don't qualify credit, then we have to cancel that contract, and it's a lot more work than it needs to be, and we just wasted money on creating the contract. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I just thought literally it won't let me
Yeah.
push the button unless I get through the credit side first. And
No, we probably have done a really good job of training you that way so that people always run credit first, you know?
Right.
All right, you guys. So moving on, you guys, I see a few hands raised. We are already at the 11:40 part of the hour. I just want to double check that we did cover some of the things that we wanted to cover today. Remember, this is a 4-week mentor program that we want to make sure that you guys are attending so that we can get through all of our stuff from a corporate standpoint. That we feel is going to really help you guys with your conversion rates and help your mentees as well. So real quick, I just want to double check the chat window. Yes, well, so this slide deck, Diego, he has a question about if I can share this full slide deck. It's going to be pretty tough because it is, as you can see here, it's about 100 slides and it won't transfer over well. However, Charles, what do you think? Should we just break this slide deck up? I don't want them to be presenting something that we haven't presented ourselves yet.
You can share that with a handful of people here via PDF, but the PowerPoint version of this type of stuff is something that we need to have you completed through the course, finalize the test. That's one of the assets that you'll get when we're done. But from a training perspective, if you're doing this to coach up your people, hit us up separately and we'll get you a PDF of whatever you need.
And CC Charles on that as well. If you're reaching out to me, CC Charles on this, because only Charles and I have the full version, okay? So another thing we wanted to talk about, you guys, and how important this is, and we're going to go into more detail of this because this is actually a full module that we'll be doing, is proposal, the savings report itself, or a proposal savings report. This is so important that people are pricing these out accurately ahead of time, that you're not putting in adders that are just because you're not sure. You just want to be safe. If you're not sure about something like an electrical adder or whatever, don't just build in $1,000 and then tell your PC team like, oh, I put it in there because I wanted to be covered. Just build it into your margin and notate that you buffered your margin so that you don't forget to cover, X amount towards, say an electrical adder or something. Today's newsletter that went out today, we did very clearly offer up the financing upgrades document. And for those of you, did I get this in here? You guys, let me stop sharing my screen real quick because I want to pull this up for you. The eligible and ineligible financing upgrades, I want to take this opportunity to make sure that all of you guys know that there are specific items that you can and cannot include on your projects, and that there are rules and things will get kicked back to you. So let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. Now we're going to go off course of the PowerPoint because we're going to be covering all of those modules that we discussed earlier in more detail in future situations. But this document has been added to today's newsletter. It's in all of our Google Drives, and it does specifically talk about when to expect homeowner rebates if you're including that in your project, when financing upgrades and rebates and what's required will be processed and paid out to your customers. So if you have not seen this, look at today's newsletter. It was included, and download that copy to your thing so that you guys can read through it in more detail and understand this process a lot better. Because right now, I think one of our biggest challenges is when we have a mentor in the system not pricing out the system appropriately ahead of time. You know, those are the kind of things that we're looking at with mentors when we're doing our audit to see if we're having an issue or somebody needs to go kind of step back from being a mentor for a while as they get down the sales process further. Again, we're getting close to the 12 o'clock hour, and we wanted to save some times for Q&A. I wanted to make sure that you guys also had a chance to look at the communication and contacts again, who to contact when, and for what, you know. So as Bobby mentioned earlier, if you're ever going to reach out to us, always include your name, the customer name, a proposal link if that's available. A proposal link if you have one already, and what the issue is that you're having. We do our best to answer these in real time when we can, but we do have a queue that we'll work through, so just please be patient on the pre-sale side. Also, I know a lot of you guys have figured out, like, if you're the mentor on a project, the mentee really shouldn't be reaching out with specific questions on how to price a project, because we're gonna send them back to you. We're going to say, have you talked to your mentor about this? Because we don't want to overstep and give them advice on their proposal if they're already working with you on something, because you might have priced something specifically because you know more about the project than we do. So make sure you're coaching your mentees that you're working with to reach out to you first if they have a question on the proposal or pricing something out, because no mentee ever should be pricing out their own proposal by themselves. Does that make sense, you guys?
And
oh, forgot. Everybody's muted.
But you're seeing head shaking.
Okay, good.
When you're communicating, just keep this in mind. If you send a message and you have 10 people that you're sending that message to in the to section, who the hell's going to respond? You've got to be, and it may sound common sense, but if you're expecting a response from a person, that's who it should be addressed to. And if you want to copy people, put that in the CC. So, I mean, I oftentimes get messages, I'm looking, do I want to respond to this? But it's being, so just basic, you know, think ahead about what your expectations are. And in this communication, it's also, like Bobby said earlier, you don't have to engage everybody. If it's a pre-sales question, contact pre-sales. If you have a challenge with the response or not getting a response for whatever reason, then you can engage further up, if you will. But to hit up 10 people on the same topic when really you just need an answer from that one group, pre-sales or post-sales, try that first before escalating it and getting other people involved. And since Rachel brought up the other issues in terms of payments, I know that a lot of things that I've seen over the past few weeks that I just want to clarify. One is clawbacks. They're going to happen, obviously. We know that on the milestone 1 payments. So just have proper expectations of that. We don't have any control over it. Deal cancels. And Rachel can clarify on the amounts when there's a cancellation past permitting or there's a cancellation at the door. Keep in mind, Power is sharing in that cost with us. They're paying out those fees, and they're only getting a net of 15% of the revenue. So let's put that in context when those types of things happen. Also with the payments, when the payments go out, if you've got other things like a roof, for example, Power's not going to pay that. And it's in the newsletter, but I just want to clarify it. They're not going to pay that until it's PTO because there's still exposure there that the customer's not going to sign off and the final funding isn't going to happen. Just things I wanted to make sure that we put into context relevant to what you're going to see in the newsletter. There's a few people that had actually raised their hands earlier. Rachel, we can go to them after you're done before we wrap up. Okay.
Yep,
Sorry.
I'm going to leave this slide deck on just so people have a chance to either take a screenshot or whatever, but we are open for Q&A right now. So let's use these next like 10, 12 minutes to get through as many questions as we can so that everybody can hear the answers. And again, while everybody's on this call as well, we will be implementing very soon, probably in the next week or two, an SMS feature for mentors where this is a text that will come from pre-sales that'll just say, hey, it's very simple text. Justin, if you want to kind of give them a little heads up of what to expect, we're going to, if this is just from pre-sales to mentors, and we're going to be sending these out twice a month at the beginning of the month and the middle of the month based on like, hey, what do you have in your pipeline, so that we can start getting ahead of some of the forecasting that Bobby mentioned is so important in this process. So Justin, do you want to just give them a little quick, very brief explanation of what we'll be doing with the texting service?
Yeah, you hit it on the head, Rachel. We just need to get some info from you guys. So I'd really appreciate it when you get that text to take the 2 or 3 minutes to fill out the very simple questions that we've asked you, so we can get an understanding of what you and your team are doing in terms of enrolling folks in solar and numbers, so we can accurately project our numbers. So really appreciate a response from each and every one of you on those. So look out for that. It's going to be starting very soon. It's going to be coming twice a month. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we're open for Q&A. Charles, I can't see the chat window.
James Ramos had his hand, so I'm going to unmute you, James. Let's see if you're still able. James, you there?
Yeah, no, hey, thanks, Charles, Rachel, Justin, the team. I did actually. Rachel answered the question. Sorry, I had my hands up. I forgot to take it down. So,
what was your question? Just so we can.
What was my? Getting a deal. Getting a deal on a Sunday. I think one of the questions was like if they're having an appointment and how do I generate the proposal? And I think Justin just said that get it ahead of time on a Saturday, so you're prepared to actually sign a contract and the homeowner moves forward.
Gotcha. Awesome. And who's next?
Edgardo, stand by as soon as I can find him again. Nice to have a big group here. All right, where'd you go? Everything keeps moving around. There you go. Edgardo, you're good now.
Hey, how are you, everybody?
Hey.
Little horse boys here, but yeah, just it's very important you guys tell everybody, like in your team, when you're a mentor, that also when they go to their home and you're going to do a Zoom presentation, they need to sit them on a table. So we, also that we're doing this all the time. When they sit in the living room, far away, you cannot hear what they're saying and you cannot interact with the customer. It's very important that you also say, we're going to put you with not my boss or anything, just the specialist, so they feel better that someone with a lot of experience is going to talk to them. So those little details are very important when you go in, either personal or do a Zoom. Instruct your people or your mentee that you are the one with posture that tell them where they need to sit. It happens all the time to me. We went yesterday to sell one that we closed. The customer is going to tell you, oh, let's sit here. They want to sit in the couch. That's not a business place to sit.
Kitchen table sales.
Yeah, you want to tell to the kitchen table or to the living room table where you can control and you tell them where to sit. 90% of people are used to know, that's their way of living. They know that, people tell them what to do. So, hey, so you hand your computer in the hand or the tablet and say, I need to show you something. Can we please sit on the table? So yeah, it's very important. If not, you're going to have the best, you're going to have a lot of back noise. And if there's kids and music, politely tell them, Can we lower that a little bit? It's very important when you're closing a deal that they have 100% of your attention. So those little details are very important.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it.
Just to piggyback on that, Edgar's and I've had that conversation. I tend to, now I'm doing most of these Zooms, but in the home presentation, get to that point pretty quickly. And I say, look, I got some things to share with you. Is there any place that we can sit that's about this high? And that way, boom, because the decision's not going to be made in the living room. So it just kind of, well, the only place that's going to be like that will be the table. Perfect. And make sure you get them where they're not getting eye contact with each other, that they're communicating directly with you, or else they're going to be shaking their head no or giving dirty faces if you can't see one while you're looking at the other. Simple things, but they're very, very important.
And one very important, if the spouse is not there, you better off making another appointment. Amen. Because 90% of the sales that you close without the spouse, unless they really tell you, no, I'm telling you, it's not important. My wife doesn't need to be here, or my husband is not. That's only in very few cases. Don't waste your time, because that spouse is not going to be able to sell it to the other spouse. They tell you they will, it will not. When they tell them, oh, little bit, hey, listen, baby, we're going to get solar panels. Oh yeah, how much? $60,000. Are you kidding me?
So true. One-leggers are the worst.
Don't show proposals when somebody else, when they're not both present. You're going to waste your time. Believe me, they're going to cancel, and a very big probability, unless they really tell you, my wife does not need to be present at all. And then if they not move forward, then you know, oh, but you told me that your wife didn't, needed to be here, so don't give me that excuse now. But at least you try, okay? You're better off leaving and making another appointment, because most likely he's not going to be able to sell to his wife.
Yep, absolutely.
Jose Dominguez, Renee, and Max with hands up. I'll try to get them in if we can. Rachel, good. Okay.
Let's do it.
Jose, coming your way. Jose?
Hello. Hi, how are you? Something quick. I heard the part that says that the mentor is the one that had to select the margin, the price for the project in the proposal.
Yes.
You're working to put that when I have to log in and the system recognize me as a mentor to do the change, or it's something that I have to trying to do it with a mentee, because sometimes happen that I set a price and then when I go to the home to do the presentation, the mentee has already changed the margin.
You're going to have to really coach those guys to not touch the proposal link again, once you guys set the price, because right now we can't keep them from touching that live link because you guys are both on it. But we've been really pushing back to not have to make you guys specifically only the sales rep assigned to that proposal be able to augment it. But you really have to get on that mentee to not touch it and adjust the price again at all.
Okay.
Or coaching, anything else, Jose?
It's more coaching, yeah, and just reinforcing
the thing is that there's some guys that come that they already selling solar, and we set a price and then they change it, or we explain everything and they go along to the home customer. They don't tell us the appointment, nothing. And when we see they lower the margin in a way that is make that sometimes is a lower commission, or also
it's underpriced,
and lose money. Yeah.
Yep.
So
can you bring those specific ones to our attention so that we can have a direct conversation, to the pre-sales attention? Me and Justin will have a direct conversation with those mentees.
Okay, I can do that.
Cool. Renee, coming your way. Okay, Renee, you're done.
All right, thank you. My question is regarding making changes in Solo. I understand that we need to go through Power, which is great. I mean, I understand what the reason being. We need to manage everything through Power. However, when we're on a closing and we notice through the customer that something is wrong, like an email or the actual address or something, we need to change it right away. Is it okay for us to go through Solo, or what is the turnaround time?
It's better to to use the revision thing and alert us that you put a revision request because you needed to update the name or something small like that. We do those updates pretty quickly.
Okay.
If it's during the turnaround time, we do not want you guys going into Solo directly and communicating to Solo directly.
So
There's cost associated with that, Renee. So having the trackability of what was requested is important because we do pay for revisions as well.
correct. Right. Okay.
And we have it set up for our data team on small revisions like a name change or an email change for them to do directly and quickly, so that it doesn't necessarily cost us a revision cost, you know? So
Right.
Invisible will pick those up. But if you're texting us like, hey, I just need a quick change on a revision, I just put in the revision request, we can, if we're on, we'll alert them immediately like, hey, go pick this up. They just need it changed real quick.
Okay. Unless it's on a Sunday or out of hours, correct?
Yeah, if it's on a Sunday or after hours, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to get that those documents generated anyways.
Correct. Yes, that's true. Alrighty.
All right. Is there these are great questions, you guys. And
Max Yelpa and Mark, if we can get them. And Bobby.
yeah, we'll stay on as long as you guys need to. I will be on. Anybody that needs to leave at the 12 o'clock hour, you're welcome to leave. This is still being recorded. And like I said, I will figure out how to get you guys a copy of this recording since I can't do the full deck.
Max.
Hey, Charles, thank you very much. How you doing, Rachel, Justin? Thank you for this opportunity to let me speak as well. I'm probably the one after hours bother you for some contract, for some revision, for a lot of stuff I have to do. We understand we work Monday to Friday, but most of the business we have is on the weekends. I know the platform they don't allow us to get connected straight with Solo, with Lompa. Sometimes when we get those kind of stuff, and I wonder. I know.
I can talk to this one, Max. Yes, Saturday availability for pre-sales is coming. I just spoke to our corporate team. We are putting out an offer for a new sales support specialist to help, and that it's going to be available on Saturdays. I'll be setting her schedule, and she does speak Spanish. So it's coming, but she's going to have to get trained up, and I would say give us a few weeks before we start opening up Saturday support. Okay?
And then Mark Liscano, last hand that's raised.
And then Charles, I want to jump in before anybody leaves to give a couple updates. Yep.
Okay, Mark, you should be unmuted.
Hey, thanks, Charles. And thanks, Rachel. And Justin, you've come in clutch for me the last couple of weeks, man. I really appreciate everything you do on the weekends and whenever, usually. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to kind of go back a little bit about qualifying our customers, because we had a couple weeks ago, we had a meeting where the closing ratio was gonna start becoming an issue because there were so many. And so what we've been doing here lately, and I just kind of wanted to share, not really a question, but Charles, you have a pretty good segment of where we've downloaded some of the stuff that you've already put out for qualifying the customer, like, how long have you been thinking about going solar? But then we also added a question that is really helping some of our mentees. This last training that we had is, hey, from a scale from 1 through 5, how close are you from going solar? Like 5 being I'm ready, and 1, I'm just now thinking about it. And then, so whatever number they say, if they say I'm a 3, then our follow-up question is, well, what would it take you to get to a 5? Because then you can kind of overcome any objection that they may have. If it may be like, well, as long as the payment stays the same, then we're not leaving money on the table when we're doing these proposals. And then the other thing too is, well, my credit. Well, then that kind of leads us to a different direction, because I've had several where I'm at 56,000, and then they get approved for 50 grand. So then I've got to make some modifications there. And had we done some qualifying questions, we probably could have done a better proposal so that we don't have to continue changing it.
Are you talking about more during your discovery process where you've already gotten the lead in the system and now you're doing a presentation, like this is one of your discovery questions?
Yes. Yeah. Once the mentees already requested me, we've gone over the proposal. We set it up.
Okay. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
I
like
get-
at the discovery process when you're talking to the customer. Cool.
Right.
Awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of helping out.
To talk about some of that as well, and thanks for sharing that. That's part of the upcoming modules in terms of ways to get them pre-qualified to a certain extent. So we'll definitely dive into that more in the upcoming weeks.
Awesome. Thank you,
And
guys.
then I think, Bobby, you wanted to
Yeah.
speak to something real quick?
Thank you. So this has been a great, you can see the value of this, everyone. It's not, it's a collective sharing of ideas. You're the best that we have, you know, and it's important that we come together for these. Couple announcements too. You're going to be seeing some new installers, or we may not be seeing some new installers, but we'll have some new installers. We're finalizing, I believe, in the greater Miami area in South Florida, Charles, Texas as well. So, you know, we're excited to keep expanding the coverage. And I want everybody to understand that. You know, people come to us real quick and they say, hey, we've got this great installer. They do 30 days. You know, please understand that they do 30 days more or less when they're a small organization. As soon as Power signs a contract with them and starts feeding them 50 and 100 or 200 contracts in a month or two, they're no longer 30 days. So what might seem good are these smaller companies that can't scale. As you know, that's not what we are. That's not what we're doing. We'll be doing 500 installations a month. These local companies can't handle that. So that's why we continue to bring on new installers that we vet, that have been stood the test of time, that have great ratings, that we know will get paid. So, and if you have any of those installers that you think are relevant, you know, Charles and I are always looking at them. We are talking to some about expanding our reach in the United States. Just so you know, we're not in a huge hurry to do that because of some of the successes that we've had in the markets we're at. Getting into pre-launch mode in new markets is not something we're overly excited about. So, you know, again, I'd stay focused on Cali, Texas, you know, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Florida, of course. California is going to be a big, big, big push for us over the next 6 months. It's at the top of our agenda. So I'll just share this with you. So we will be in California in May. Charles will be there before that. We will be doing some events there. As most of you should know, we have our Florida tour schedule planned from the 10th, starting in Miami, ending up in Orlando in March. And then we're heading to Texas and doing a tour of Texas, ending up in McAllen. We're very excited to have major events there. Quick footnotes. For those of you that are building a team, please, 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 please teach your teams. When you send out a link to somebody to join, please follow up with every single person you send a link. We're getting 1 or 2 orphans a day. And as you know, I send out personal emails to everybody. I include all the relevant teammates. I try and give relevant new information. And when there's an orphan out there, it takes a while. Track them down, see who they're with, text them, email them, call them, and trying to find out who they are. So I do the best I can, but it would be really helpful if all of you team builders make sure that everyone is following up with anyone that they send a link to. Lastly, tonight, Charles and I are doing and recording a Zoom for solar professionals. The conversation is going to be geared towards solar professionals. We have a lot of new solar pros that have just joined us. We did a big Zoom last night for some solar pros, so we're looking forward to that. And if any of you are selling or closing virtually, they're doing it via Zoom. Somebody sent me a super cool background that they've set up. It's a green screen. It makes it look like they're in a beautiful state-of-the-art office with it's just very picturesque. It's really cool. You can email me privately if you're interested in that. I just happened to see it this morning. I thought it was really cool. I think it was a couple $100. One of our guys in Florida, Solar Pro, that just came on board. So pretty cool stuff. So I'll turn it back over to Rachel to close out any last questions. Again, thank you for all of you attending. We really appreciate it. Make sure this is in your books for the next 4 weeks. We'll deal with after that. But we've got some big updates to give you. We're close to another CEO call with Jonathan. The stakes are going up, you know, as we head towards this Reg A round. So we've got to all be better. We've all got to be great at what we do. The incomes are going through the roof. You're seeing there's a half a dozen people on this Zoom right now that made over $25,000 to $50,000 to $70,000 last month. There's another probably 12 to 15 that are now pacing multiple 6-figure incomes. So it's working. And we're very excited that it is working for everybody. So thank you all for what you're doing. We appreciate everything that you're doing out there. Rach?
Hey, thanks guys. You guys, you can see I sent out a calendar invite before because this was normally a private Zoom link. We've added it to the Power Calendar. We're going to monitor it every week to make sure that mentees are not joining this call. But so I've just updated that. You guys do not have to keep the calendar invite that I sent you. If you want to just, put it on your calendar yourself, that's fine. But I have it in there for you guys. So I am going to stay on. I'm going to actually stop the recording though, because it's going to get way too long. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording, you guys. And